This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, is telling everyone, let's face it in therapy. By talking or texting with a supportive, licensed therapist at Talkspace, you can face whatever is holding you back, whether it's mental health symptoms, relationship drama, past trauma, bad habits, or another challenge that you need support to work through. It's easy to sign up. Just go to Talkspace.com and you'll be paired with a provider, typically within 48 hours. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule. Plus, Talkspace is in-network with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. Make your mental health a priority and start today. If you're not covered by insurance, get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80.
If you want to feel more connected to humanity and a little less alone, listen to Beautiful Anonymous. Each week, I take a phone call from one random anonymous human being. There's over 400 episodes in our back catalog. You get to feel connected to all these different people all over the world. Recent episodes include one where a lady survived a murder attempt by her own son. But then the week before that, we just talked about Star Trek. It can be anything. It's unpredictable. It's raw. It's real. Get Beautiful Anonymous wherever you listen to podcasts.
Rosemary Ann. I remember that she was just perfect. She looked beautiful, and I could see a lot of my own features in her.
Welcome to Still a Part of Us, a place where moms and dads share the story of their child who was stillborn or who died in infancy. I'm Winter.
And I'm Lee. We are grateful you joined us today. Please note that this is a story of loss and has triggers.
Thanks to our lost parents who are willing to be vulnerable and share their children with us.
If you're listening to this podcast, just know that on our YouTube channel there are pictures and videos that are related to the stories that are being shared.
Subscribe and share it with a friend that might need it, and tell them to subscribe. Why? Because people need to know that even though our babies are no longer with us, they're still a part of us. Welcome to Still a Part of Us. I am really excited today. I have my friend here in the flesh, in real life, you guys. Like, I don't even know how excited. Like, this has not happened for a minute, just because we interview obviously so many people that are all over the country, all over the world. And so to be able to get somebody from my neighborhood to come and share her story is really a privilege. So Heather, welcome. Thank you for coming on our podcast.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we're just so excited. And I know that Heather reached out to me because we've been friends since I moved into the neighborhood. And just because automatically we had a shared tie of having lost babies. Like, I lost our son a couple years before, and Heather lost hers essentially that year that we moved in, I think.
Yep.
And so we kind of clicked once again for being in the same club that nobody wants to be a part of. And so to have Heather here is really a nice treat. So Heather, thank you. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell me about like what your family looks like, and especially what it looks like at the time of Rosemary's birth.
Yeah, so I'm Heather. My husband is Andrew, and we have a 14-year-old now, Hannah.
Yep.
And when we got married, it was just over 6 years ago, and that's when we moved into the neighborhood as well. So I was married before and was a single mom for 7.5 years before meeting my current husband. And about 7 months after we got married, we got pregnant with Rosemary, and now we have 2 other little boys that are just super fun and crazy.
They are. They're so cute.
18 months and almost 4 years old, and just lots of fun.
Yeah, they're a handful, and your family is wonderful. We're very close to their family, so it's just it's very fun. There's a lot of things that coincide. So,
Yes.
And what do you guys like to do as hobbies and things as families or personally?
Well, I am a ballroom dance teacher.
Yes, she
And
is.
so-
She's very good.
Thank you. My husband and I love going ballroom dancing together. We try to do that at least once a month for a big date night. So that's what we like to do together. As a family, we like to go on walks around the neighborhood or play in the backyard. My boys love just spending time outside.
Yeah.
But, we like to play board games too and watch TV.
Yeah.
So
There's
super fun.
a lot. And also, she's very, like, those guys love books. Like, you go into their house and there's so many
lots of books
and there's series, and it's just so fun. And Heather's husband and Lee, my husband, they love to play games.
Yes, they do.
So yeah, it's just, once again, we're good friends. So
yeah.
Okay, so well, thank you for sharing about that. And like I said, Heather lives just down the street. And as a little bit of a point of reference, so you, when did Rosemary? When was she born? At the time of this recording.
So her birthday is on May 5th, 2020. So we're coming up on her 5th birthday, on her golden birthday.
Yep, it is just right around the corner. And so I thought this would be kind of fun to be able to do this for her. Okay, so you mentioned before that you had been married and you have Hannah. And at the time, I believe she was about, what, 9 or so, 8 or 9?
Yeah, she was 8 when we got married.
Okay. And was your plan as a family, was it to expand your family? Was that a pretty, like, you guys, that was on the docket, was to have kids?
Yes. Actually, remembering back, Hannah was 7. She was about to turn 8 because she got baptized shortly after we got married.
Okay.
And Andrew baptized her.
Okay, great.
But yes, the plan was always to continue our family and have more kids. And so we'd actually been trying for a couple months before getting pregnant with Rosemary.
Okay. So it was attempted. It had been a couple months. It wasn't right away necessarily, but 2 months is actually very fast, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Okay. So then how did you find out? Like, what made you think that you got pregnant?
Well, I missed my period.
Yeah.
And just noticed that I was going to the bathroom more frequently and just kind of really tired. And I'm like, well, this is out of the normal. So I took a test at like 3 a.m. and it came back positive.
Why at 3 a.m?
I just had anticipated it. Like the day before, I was just like, I just have to do it for the early morning pee, like it was like that was the thing to do.
That's a really early morning pee, though. I just want to point out 3 a.m. is really early, Heather.
But it came back positive really fast, and so I went back to bed and I could not fall back asleep.
Oh,
and
I would not be able
just
to.
Like reached over. I'm like, Andrew, guess what? We're pregnant. And he's like, wait, what? He was still asleep. But yeah, that's how it happened.
That's actually really fun and really funny too.
I know.
Well, so did Andrew like acknowledge that? Like, did he realize what had just happened?
It didn't really click until like we'd fully woken up around 8 the next morning. But he's like, wait, so this is real?
Yes, I did take a pregnancy test at 3 a.m. No big deal.
No big deal. It's fine.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay, so then your families, I know a little bit more history. So tell me where your families are at.
Yeah, so Andrew is from Washington. So most of his family is still out there. His parents are in Colfax. He's got a couple sisters in Idaho, another sister in Oklahoma, and another sister out here in Utah. So they're kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then your family
My family is in Utah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, within an hour of here.
Okay.
All of them.
So did you tell your family after you got pregnant, or were you thinking that you would wait? You had been pregnant before. So as sometimes when it's your first or something, then there's different like expectations on what to say. And this would be Andrew's first, right? So
yes.
What did you do?
Yeah. So I wanted to tell people right away. When I had tested, I was 5 weeks along, or almost 5 weeks along.
Oh, okay.
And so that was, an indicator that. So
okay. So tell me. So did you tell your family? And after you got the positive test, or did you hold off? Did you wait a minute?
So I waited a little bit. This was beginning of October that we found out.
Oh, okay.
So waited just a few days, and then I told my mom because I was too excited to not tell her.
Yeah.
But then my sister had a birthday party on October 19th, and I had gotten a cute shirt for Hannah to announce to everybody, and another pair of shirts for Andrew and I his said, I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good. And mine said mischief managed with a pair of footprints on the belly.
Oh, so cute.
And so that was our announcement in front of the whole family for my sister's birthday party. And it was so fun.
Cute.
So I was 9 weeks along at that point.
And she loves Harry Potter.
Yes.
They love Harry Potter. So that was a very appropriate announcement. So
Yes.
how fun is that?
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys announced that. And then did you guys tell Andrew's family at that time?
Yes. We told Andrew's the same day, like right after we'd announced to everybody. We called all of them and just shared our excitement.
Yeah.
So.
Which is exciting because it would be Andrew's first, right? So that was probably a big deal for him and his family. So
yes. I believe we actually called his mom around the same time we called my mom.
Okay.
Yeah. We wanted to share to the moms.
Moms need to know
yes.
these things. Okay. So that is super exciting. And any feelings on boy, girl?
I felt girl right away.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I just felt it.
Felt similar to like Hannah's or what?
No, just felt girl. I don't know. It was just that kind of energy that was there. But Andrew thought boy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So then because of that, were you guys doing a running list of names from the get-go?
No, we didn't start looking into names until like 15, 16 weeks.
Okay.
And for either gender, we're just like, I don't know. But it's kind of funny because in church on one Sunday when I was 16 weeks along, there was a talk that was given and somebody had mentioned the name Rosemary. And Andrew's like, I really like that name. And I was like, yeah, I do too. Let's put it on the list. And that's kind of what started the list.
Oh, was Rosemary's name?
Yeah. It was kind of interesting.
Huh. It's always funny how things kind of just stick. So.
I know. And her name, like after her name, there were like 50 other names. And it was just like, none of these feel right. We never even went back to hers until she was born.
Oh.
It was crazy how it happened. But yeah, we just knew when she was born.
Yay. Okay. Well, and then, so then you guys were, so you found out you're pregnant. You hadn't done an announcement. Tell me about your doctor's visits and such, because I know a little bit of information about Heather, but were you concerned about your pregnancy at all? Was there anything that would give you cause for getting a little bit more monitoring, I guess?
Well, good question, because my pregnancy was really hard. Starting at 5 weeks.
With this pregnancy
specifically.
Was Hannah's
was so easy.
Oh, interesting.
I was 18 when I was pregnant with her, 19 when I gave birth to her.
Yeah.
So I was really young. My body was spry and everything else. But I never had morning sickness. I always was up and doing things. And like I was playing volleyball on her due date.
Yeah.
Her pregnancy was really easy.
Okay.
Rosemary's was really hard in the fact that I got severe morning sickness starting at 5 weeks. And it was later diagnosed as hyperemesis.
Okay.
Where I ended up going into the hospital 3 different times for IV fluids because I couldn't even keep water down.
Right.
And that didn't stop until 16 weeks.
Okay.
So it was really rough.
Yeah, that is a long time to be super sick. So not being able to eat a ton, not keeping water down even, that can be concerning. When you were throwing up and going into the hospital and stuff, I'm assuming you were under the care of a doctor, OBGYN.
Yes.
And tell me about that care.
Yeah, I'm high risk because I have type 1 diabetes. So I was already planning to be monitored more closely.
Okay. So MFM, maternal fetal medicine
Correct.
doc, okay, automatically.
Automatically. Yep.
Great.
And I had found her before even getting pregnant, like when we were talking about getting pregnant. And so I had established this doctor well before anything happened. And so I felt really comfortable with her and she was great the whole time.
Okay.
But the entire pregnancy, I was monitored really closely. I had many ultrasounds and I had non-stress tests and I had just lots of appointments, every 2 weeks most of the time. And then toward the end, every week and twice a week. So yeah, I was watched really closely.
So a lot. And that makes complete sense to be a type 1 diabetic, to have that extra monitoring because you're considered, it's just high risk.
Yep.
So you were being seen quite often and you had a lot of ultrasounds. And did you do genetic testing? I know some people do at like, 10-ish, 12-ish weeks.
Yep, we did.
So, was it just the regular panel, or was it like the super intensive? Because I know there's you can do like steps of the genetic testing, but was it just the basic?
Just the basic. We just wanted to make sure we knew if we were preparing for like Down syndrome or, any of the other more common.
Yes.
Whatever.
Genetic chromosomal abnormality. Yeah.
Yeah. And everything came back normal. I mean, we had opted to not find out the gender during that genetic testing, but we found out gender at 19 weeks.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting that you kind of waited on that, because it's so easy to know.
I know. Yep. We waited until 19 weeks because I wanted to see it on the ultrasound. Yeah. I didn't want to find out with a blood test.
Okay.
And so we found out a few days after Christmas what we were having. And so for New Year's, we had a big New Year's party and had Hannah open a little gift that she pulled out a baby sleeper that said little sister on it.
Oh.
And so that's how we announced that it was a girl, and she was so excited.
Yay. Oh, yeah.
So
sisters. My daughter, Lucy, always wants this. She's like, are you going to have another baby? I was like, no, sorry, sweetie. You're the only one. You're the only girl. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's really exciting. So tell me about the anatomy scan at 19 weeks. How did she look? Were they concerned about placenta, about anything about her?
There was nothing concerning at all. Everything looked perfect. She was measuring right on track, perfect amount of fluid, all of her limbs, all of her fingers, everything was intact. She was moving very normally.
Great.
Had a posterior placenta, so I was able to feel her kick like at 18 weeks, I think, was when I was starting to feel her kick. So I was very confident that everything was going well.
Okay. And so when you actually tell me about when you found out she was a girl.
I was excited. I mean, since I already had that feeling, it was just confirming.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah.
But it was just like, oh, now we know. Now we can call it a girl.
Yeah.
And now we can really peruse more girl names and kind of start gathering things here and there.
Right. Yeah.
And so that was exciting.
Yay. And then when you guys went to, so you're being seen pretty regularly. Those are going okay. Were you monitoring at home at all? Any home Dopplers? Counting kicks, that type of thing?
I was doing kick counting.
You were?
But
okay.
I hadn't even heard of a fetal Doppler that you could use at home until after her pregnancy, when I got pregnant again. And then I'm like, yes, I need that. And I used it many times. But yeah, I had no reason to feel like I needed it.
Well, everything was going very well.
Right.
Yeah. Sounds good. Did you guys end up doing a baby shower? I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Tell me more about this baby shower. And by the way, we are in my basement, and it is like 20 degrees cooler down here than it is upstairs. And so it's cold. So we have blankets. We have minky blankets on our laps.
Yeah. So my best friend at the time, Elizabeth, opted to throw me a baby shower, and I was so excited to have somebody offer to do that for me because, it's always awkward to like ask for things. But Hannah was 8.5 at the time, so I didn't have anything. I'm just like, this is a long time in between pregnancies.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So things have changed and style has changed and technology has changed. And yeah.
Yes. So she threw me a Harry Potter themed baby shower.
Yeah.
Over just at the church. And it was so fun. It was so decked out amazingly, and it was really awesome. I had lots of good friends show up and lots of fun things.
How awesome. That is it's fun to celebrate. Yeah. Celebrate those little babies coming in. So
yes.
Okay. And then so tell me, I know kind of as you starting to get later, you probably weren't doing stress tests until just kind of later, right?
Yeah, 30 weeks is when they started for me.
Okay. And then you did the gestational diabetes, the drink.
No, because I have type 1.
Because
so
they were like, no. That. Okay. I was like, I don't know what they do specifically. So they were just monitoring.
They just monitor blood sugar overall.
And that's what you're doing anyway.
Yep.
very consistently. So it was not a big deal.
Right.
That makes complete sense. Okay. Okay. So then as you're preparing and going in from like the second to the third trimester, how are you feeling? You have hopefully have stopped. You have not been throwing up as much.
Yes, that had finally stopped. And during the second trimester, when I had some more energy, my parents actually came up to my house and helped me totally clear out the baby's room and get it all painted. And like we just painted it very gender neutral, but it was very loud before. It had a very bright blue on the bottom half and a very bright yellow on the top half.
Wow.
And I'm like, I just need something calm. So we did gray and white, and it was just very soft and very nice. And we put the crib together. And so we were just starting to get a couple of things together and having it feel like a baby could be there.
Yeah.
And so that happened during second trimester, and then the third trimester set in, and obviously getting bigger and more tired and not doing as much. But my husband and I made it a point to go on a walk every night. So that, I think that really helped, just kind of being physically active.
Yeah.
And it helped just having us be connected.
Yeah.
Too. So it was good.
Yeah. It's so good on so many. I'm like, walking. I'm a huge fan of it. So yes, walking. Yeah, actually that's one of the things that I remember when I first moved into the neighborhood was that we would see you guys take a lap around. We always talk because we've got this lap around our little block that a lot of people do, and you can't make it in a short amount of time because you get stopped by so many people.
It's true. It's pretty great.
Yeah, it's so great. Our neighborhood is the best.
Yes.
Okay, and then so how are the non-stress tests going from there? Because were they once a week or were you getting to twice a week? So the non-stress test, right, is to just make sure that the baby is like the heart rate is staying steady, or it's accelerating when it needs to accelerate, or it doesn't decelerate or go down too low. When a stress is put on the baby. So
yeah, they were going really well, and usually they last about 30 minutes, the whole stress test.
Okay.
And so, yeah, they were going really well, but toward the end, so I was doing non-stress tests once a week until 34 weeks, and then it came to twice a week.
Okay. Yes.
Just to be, more careful. Baby's getting bigger, all of that kind of stuff.
All that fun stuff.
And I remember at like 35 weeks, I was having some contractions. And so they were being picked up by the non-stress tests. And because, they want to make sure that contractions aren't putting baby in distress.
Yes.
And they weren't. Like, baby was still just fine. She was still active, but I was feeling the contractions.
You were feeling the contractions. Okay. Because I remember like having those and like, oh, you're having a contraction now. I was like, oh, okay, sure. Don't feel anything. So
yeah,
but you were definitely feeling them.
I was feeling them. It wasn't bad, but I was feeling them.
Okay. Nothing consistent though, right? In order to cause you to like, oh, we need to.
Yeah, no, there was one toward the end where they saw some weird decelerations that were being a little bit inconsistent. And so they had me stay an extra 30 minutes just to keep an eye on things. And they're like, yeah, if we see these other markers, like if it goes down to this level, then we're going to have to send you to the hospital where they can monitor you more closely.
Okay.
I was like, oh boy. but everything resolved at that point and it was fine.
Okay. So nothing still to concern you.
Correct.
Really?
Yeah.
And what was the plan? Being a high risk pregnancy, what was your MFM's kind of like and plan with you? Like, what was the discussion about that?
Yeah. So by the time I was having 2 non-stress tests a week, I was having an ultrasound every other non-stress test as well.
Okay.
So to measure baby's growth and measure amniotic fluid.
Okay.
And every time baby was measured, she was getting bigger than she should have been at the time. So she was like in the 90th percentile.
Okay.
And so because of that and because of my type 1, she just said, let's plan on inducing you at 38 weeks.
Okay.
Just to make sure baby doesn't get too big and make sure that, we're not running into any other risks.
Okay. So then what was your plan? What were you hoping to have your birth plan look like?
Yeah.
Obviously induction, if
Yes.
it got to that point, but then Are we talking you wanted epidural or you wanted to go natural or you wanted in the hospital? Because I'm assuming with the high risk, you have to be in the hospital. Yes.
Not necessarily,
that,
but I was under the impression that I had to be. And so that just became my plan.
Okay.
I'm like, it's safer to be monitored where they can intervene if necessary.
Yes. Oh,
so
I like that. That's my personal, but that's, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And so that just kind of became my plan. But then I ended up going to some hypnobirthing classes with Andrew to just help teach my mind to calm itself during contractions and different things, just to help things go smoother.
Yeah.
And everything. And it was so valuable. I'm so grateful that we were able to do that, especially together, just to have him help be my birthing companion.
Yeah.
You know, like it was really awesome.
The fact that you guys got to do it together is really cool, actually.
Yeah.
So he understood where you were going. You're like, this is what I'm doing. Please be with me.
Yes. And so along those same lines, I was planning to have a natural delivery.
Okay.
I did not want an epidural. I wanted to be able to move around and control everything that I needed to for the experience.
And I'm assuming that was just a local class that you took?
Actually, it was an hour south of here.
Oh.
But there were only 5 classes. It was once a week for 5 weeks. So it wasn't bad, but it was a commitment.
Yeah.
We had to plan the evenings for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you have a 7-8-year-old
yes.
at the same time too. So
yes, for sure.
Okay. And then you're progressing along. The goal is 38 weeks for induction. And so, tell me a little bit more as things progress. Yeah.
So I was still feeling pretty good overall. I was obviously bigger and everything, but at 36 and a half weeks, there was a Friday that I had another NST and another ultrasound. They measured everything. Everything was looking perfect. And, we're just like, okay, well, in another week and a half, she's going to be here. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. And I was getting more excited. The week before I had gone into her room and organized all of the baby clothes, put all the blankets out. Everything was just so prepared. And like, I just remember sitting in the chair, just being like, I am so excited to hold you. And, and every time I'd shower, I'd lay down in the shower because that's always really relaxing to me. And I would talk to her and I would sing to her and just say, we're partners in this. And I'm really excited to be your partner, to get you here. And it's just going to be awesome to have you in my arms. I just remember doing that many times. But then the Sunday after that non-stress test on Friday, I remember just like nothing was really off that day, but I remember at one point during the day, I just started crying. I'm like, why am I getting emotional? It just was kind of random. So I wasn't sure what was happening. It cleared up and everything was fine. But then we went to bed that night and, I was talking to her again because that's when she gets really active. It's just right at night when you're laying down and everything. It's just like, I'm excited to meet you next week and it's going to be great. And, when you're pregnant and especially that big, you're getting up multiple times a night to pee.
Yes, you are.
And it's lovely and wonderful.
Yep.
And so I got up at 4 a.m. to go to the bathroom. And as soon as I got up, I had felt her kick. And then I went back to bed and didn't feel her move again. So then I woke up for the day at like 7:30. And I was supposed to have another NST that afternoon.
Oh, okay.
The Monday afternoon. And I felt like something was off. And I kept poking her and prodding her. And I was like, okay, let me have some ice chips because that will a lot of times stimulate her movements. And nothing was working. So I called my mom at like 10 a.m. I was like, okay, I'm getting a little bit concerned. Haven't felt her move in a while. I'm not sure what to do. And she's like, well, if you're really concerned, just go in. They'll put your mind at ease. Everything's going to be fine. But the biggest part of this whole hurdle was that this was May of 2020. The world had shut down because of COVID.
Yep.
So we were all quarantined.
Yeah. And nobody was seeing anybody. And they were basically telling people not to come to the hospital unless you were like bleeding out. And even then it was like, you might get COVID. So,
right. So my appointments, that were the NSTs and everything, they were mandatory. So like, obviously I had to go, but everybody's masked up and everybody's being very careful with all the social distancing, all of the everything. But my husband wasn't even allowed to any of my appointments at this point because it was just too high risk of anything.
Yeah.
And so, when I had called my mom, she's like, yep, just go get checked out. They'll just give you peace of mind. And I hung up the phone with her and I just started bawling. I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but okay. And my husband was working from home and Hannah was home because we were doing homeschool at home.
School was shut down too.
Yes. And so I called the doctor's office. That was my next step. I was like, okay, haven't felt her move in a while. I'm supposed to have an appointment this afternoon at 1:00. Can we move the appointment sooner? And they're like, just go to the emergency room. Just go get checked out there. They have everything there if something is wrong.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, guess that's what I'm doing then. And so I got off the phone and went and talked to Andrew and I just said, I guess I'm going to go get in checked out and just take care of Hannah. That's all I could say. And so I drove in to the hospital, to the labor and delivery emergency department, where they...
By yourself?
By myself.
I did not realize you were by yourself.
I was by myself. So I got in there and they hooked me up to the monitors and they're like, yeah, we're just going to do a quick ultrasound on your baby. Just make sure everything's okay. And they did. And immediately I knew she was gone. But it took them saying, your baby has no heartbeat for me to actually believe it. But first, I saw and I just said, I don't see a heartbeat on the monitor. And the nurse that was with me, she just said, yeah, that's what I'm worried about too. I'm going to get a second opinion. She rushed out into the hallway and called down. She's like, I need somebody else in here now. And I was like, oh my gosh, don't freak out. Don't freak out. Don't freak out. Oh my gosh. So they came in, got the second opinion, and she just put her arm on me. She just said, I'm so sorry. Your baby's passed away. And all I could say was, no, she hasn't. No. It was impossible.
Yeah.
I can't even. And they just, they both held me while I held my tummy, just held her and just started sobbing. I was like, I'm by myself too.
Yeah.
It was awful.
This is horrible. It's
yeah. So I called my husband, I called Andrew, and all I could say was, she's gone. He's like, what? She doesn't have a heartbeat. She's gone. And he just said, no. Same thing, just no. And I just said, just figure out how to get here. I just need you here right now. Figure out what to do with Hannah. Just get here. And so he ended up calling Hannah's dad to have him meet us at the hospital. And we didn't say anything to Hannah. We're just like, we just need to figure out what's going on first. So he got to the hospital as soon as he could and came and met me and just held me. And because it was COVID, they had different guidelines for the doctors too. If they weren't on call, they didn't call them in.
Yeah.
It was just whoever was there.
Yeah.
Thankfully, my doctor was on shift right at that time.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of awesome. So they paged her and she came in and talked to us and just said, I'm so sorry. This was unexpected. Everything was going great. I'm like, I know. What the heck?
Yeah.
And so she said, I just said, what do we do? What do we do from here? And she said, well, we can move you straight over into labor and delivery and you can give birth to her right now. Or you can take the night and come back first thing in the morning. And that's ultimately what we decided to do. I'm like, my world has just been flown upside down.
Yeah.
I can't imagine delivering a baby right now. So we went home and we got some Thai food to help kind of induce labor with the spicy.
With the spicy food.
Just to try and help that process get started.
Because were you contracting at all?
I was a little bit.
You were.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it wasn't.
And were you dilated or anything?
I was dilated to a 3.
Oh, you were. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
but it like nothing was progressing.
Right. Okay.
So, but yeah, so we went home, had the bishop come over and give us a blessing, and Andrew called all of his siblings, and I called my mom right after in the hospital too, right after calling Andrew. And I told her, I was like, she's gone. I came to the hospital and she's not here anymore. And I remember her saying that she had just gotten back from the grocery store and she was carrying bags in from the car and she just collapsed to her knees. She's just like, no, that's impossible. And she like called her friend and she's like, we need to pray for her. Like, ask God to bring her baby back. And I'm just like, it's too late. Like, there's nothing that can be done. And we called his mom too on the way home, and they were like, well, do you want us to come out there and see you? Because they're clear out in Washington. And we're just like, we just need to figure this out. Like, it was really, really traumatizing and really just isolating, especially during COVID, because we were just so limited with everything.
Yeah. So I just want to point out something. So at this time, because COVID shut down in Utah anyway, and actually the United States entirely on May 13th. I just remember that day because that's when
March 13th.
March 13th. Sorry, March 13th. And then so when you went into the hospital, that was May 4th. And so we'd only had the COVID restrictions for just a couple of months, a month and a half, right?
Yep.
And we were all still kind of trying to figure our way around it. And I'm curious because at that time, there were some really, really rough restrictions where like dad had to test, like both couples had to test to make sure they were COVID. No, they didn't even have COVID tests readily available at that time. Is that right? I think that's right.
They would test people in the hospital with the horrible nose brain jab.
Yes.
But there were no other tests available at this point.
Yeah. So did they make you test before you came back in?
At the time of coming back in, they tested me.
And then the other thing that is thinking about other things is that masking was very much in place because we just had no idea. And so masking was mandatory.
Yep.
And also visitors was completely restricted. And so that is the other thing that is, I think of lots of other birth stories we've had that happened during COVID, and it was horrible, like absolutely horrible.
Yeah. And at this point, it was like the limit to 5 people in a room.
Yeah.
Like it was that limited.
Yeah. And I know it got more restricted as it started to spread a lot more. So,
yep.
Okay. So then you guys went home, you got some food and some rest and alerted kind of the neighborhood and our church about what had happened.
I mean, yeah, we didn't specifically tell people except for the bishop, and he's the one that kind of spread the word.
Okay.
And so they could kind of set up some help for us or, whatever else. And we ended up calling Hannah by FaceTime after we got home to tell her what happened. And that was really hard.
Oh, yeah.
That was really hard just to say, I'm sorry, but your baby sister is gone.
Yeah.
Like,
and you won't be able to bring her home.
Like, we won't be able to bring her home.
Yeah.
And, to an 8-year-old, how does she understand that? Oh, I guess she had just turned 9 by this point. But yeah, like it wasn't comprehensible for her.
Yeah.
But Andrew ended up calling all of his siblings to tell them that night after we got home. And it's one of my biggest regrets that I didn't do the same thing. I told my mom to tell them because I couldn't at the time.
Yeah. I don't fault you at all. I couldn't. There was no way. I was like, I need you to pass on this information because this is going to be too hard. And
yeah, that's exactly how it was. But looking back, I do wish I'd had those one-on-one conversations because, my family means a lot to me. Like, family's everything. And I know that they would have just wrapped their arms emotionally around me from a distance.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was it was tough. So that's probably my biggest regret, is just not telling them myself what had happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then that night we just didn't sleep. Like, we were just dreading what the next day was going to bring, and it was really rough. And we got a call at 6 a.m. to come in. And so we got there. My doctor was still on her 12-hour shift. I think she was there until 10.
Okay.
But we got in there, and I got hooked up to Pitocin at like 8:30, I want to say.
Okay.
And maybe it was 7:30. And we just wanted to get things going. And at this point, my birth plan had obviously changed.
Yeah.
It had to.
Yep.
And so I definitely opted for the epidural.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we just need to do everything that we can just to get her here. And I don't want a C-section. Like that was the biggest goal.
Yeah.
I just didn't want a C-section. But I had some doctors come in and say that they wanted to control my diabetes. They wanted to put me on an insulin drip. They wanted to do blood sugar checks. They wanted to do this and that. And I just said, no, like, I'm in control of my own diabetes. My husband has an app on his phone that follows my blood sugar. He can help intervene if needed. I'm not doing any of that.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful that I had the strength to advocate for myself in that moment, because just adding another thing would have been a lot.
Yeah. And honestly, insulin drips and like that, it's a lot. And tweaking that so that it is right while there's like added stress. I can imagine that would have been a little bit of a nightmare, actually.
Yeah, it would have been. But the cool part of the experience that I had was my brother-in-law's sister ended up being my nurse.
Oh.
She is incredible. I would not have had the experience that I had there without her being there. She was so knowledgeable about counter pressure and about just different things that needed to happen so that I wouldn't have as much pain.
Yeah.
And so just having her there was huge. And she ended up bringing me a gift basket after the experience that all of my sisters-in-law went in on together.
Oh.
So it was really sweet. But the whole labor and delivery process was just excruciating. Like, the epidural was not as effective as it needed to be, especially for back labor.
Oh, and you were feeling it all back there.
Yes, everything was in my back because, she was dead.
Yeah.
And so she didn't descend into the birth canal like a live baby would do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it took so much longer just to get her down. I was like, she was so far up for so long.
Okay.
So she was just like stuck in my back. and I
just
was laying on
hanging
my
out there,
back.
and you were like, this is really uncomfortable.
Uh-huh. So, we had the peanut ball that put between the knees and switched me back and forth. And switching me back and forth was finally what caused her to move down. But I was actually grateful because after I got the epidural, I was able to sleep for a couple hours.
Oh, you were? Okay.
Yeah. And that really helped, especially not getting sleep the night before.
Yeah. You're not sleeping.
No. No. But anyway, when it was time, right before being time to push, I had one hospital staff member come up to me and she just said, "Do you want me to get pictures of the first time holding her?"
Oh.
And I was like, yes, please.
Okay, wait a second. Now let's back up 2 seconds. Just a question. When you were at home, or when even with the staff, when you got there, did they talk about anything about when she came and memories? And so this was the first time.
Nobody talked about anything. I didn't know that there were things that could happen after. I didn't know what kind of mementos I would have. Nobody said anything to me. So it was like right before I was dilated to a 10 that somebody came up to me and said, "Do you want some pictures?"
Are you serious?
Yes. Cher did not come.
Well, they probably couldn't because of COVID.
Yep.
But then also it seems like so I know that you gave birth at the University of Utah.
Yes.
And that's our local university hospital. But they usually have things on the floor, which is so surprising to me that they were not proactive. And maybe it was because of COVID, like they didn't want too many people in the room or something in
Right.
general.
Right.
That is shocking to me.
I know. Like, and obviously my headspace, like from the time that we found out to the time that we delivered, I couldn't even think about any of those things. It was just like, how am I getting through the next minute?
Yeah. You're just so devastated. Your heart is broken. You are in shock, honestly.
Yes, truly.
Because everything was fine.
Yep. Right until it wasn't.
Yeah. And it's so shocking to your brain and your heart. It's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
you said yes to the pictures.
Said yes to the pictures. And so those are some of my most treasured memories. Just the pictures of first holding her, because Andrew was right there with me. But yeah, like as soon as I gave birth to her, they put her right on my chest, and the whole room was so quiet except for my crying. Everybody was just, it was really tender. Like nobody wanted to say anything.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to do anything. But the nurse right after, just came up and just said, "You did a good job. She's here and it's okay." And she was beautiful. She was perfect. The only thing that was off was that she'd been dead inside for about 30 hours before giving birth, and so her skin had been deteriorating a bit. And so the top layer of her skin was coming off in a lot of places.
Yeah.
And so I took it upon myself to peel those pieces of skin off. And it wasn't until 15 minutes later that one of the nurses came up to me and just said, "You probably shouldn't be doing that. It might make her look worse."
Oh.
And I wish that somebody'd said it sooner, because it did. It made her skin really dark in those areas. And so it was hard for me to look at her after. I'm like, oh, if I would have just left it alone, maybe she would have looked prettier, but she was beautiful. And I just took as much time as I could to memorize everything about her. And the hard thing, though, is that I asked Andrew if he wanted to hold her, and he just said, "No, I can't right now." It's like, okay, well, I'm gonna hold her.
Yep.
Then.
She's all mine.
Yeah, but they just said, "Do you want to give her a bath?" I said, "Yeah, I would like to do that." And so they brought us stuff just to give her a bath right there, and so we just got to give her a little sponge bath, and that was really sweet. And then the lady that took the pictures, she just said, "I'm gonna take her and go and get some molds now of her her hands and feet."
Oh, good.
And is there a special outfit that you want other pictures in? And I had brought an outfit with. That's the one thing that I did think about, is a cute outfit to put her in. And so I gave her an outfit to dress her in, just for some pictures. And I just said, "Well, how long are you going to be?" She's like, "Up to an hour. It's not going to be super long. I just got to make sure that we get everything right so that you have some nice things to take home."
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Feels like a long time, honestly, but it is so good that they really are so good at taking the time and making it nice.
Well, so I had the whole process, the whole labor and delivery was 12 hours.
Okay, because they started at around 7:30 in the morning. So you gave birth to her at...
Actually, the Pitocin, no, I was right the first time. The Pitocin hadn't started until like 9:45.
A little bit later. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
They had some trouble getting an IV first, so they had to have several different people come and try, because they started trying at 7:30.
Oh, gotcha.
That's what was going on.
Okay.
But they couldn't get a good one until
a bit later.
Yeah, 9:45, 10-ish. And so she was born at about 10 p.m.
Okay.
And so they took her away to get the pictures and the molds, and I just kept watching the clock. They moved me into a recovery room after stitching me up, because I ended up having a 2nd-degree tear.
Okay.
When she was born, they weighed her and measured her and did all of that stuff right in front of me. And
Which
she
is
was
so nice too. Yeah.
It was really great.
Tell me how big she was. And I was gonna let's back up 2 seconds.
Yes.
I want to make sure I get everything.
Yes.
So when she was, so when you guys you were getting ready to push,
Yes.
how long did you end up pushing?
That's a good question. I think I pushed for 45 minutes.
Okay. So not terribly, terribly long.
Yeah. It was long enough though that it was exhausting.
Well, and I was going to say, you also had, like you said, the epidural was kind of not doing what it would hope to do by that time.
Yes.
Did the hypnobirthing actually, did that help at all?
It did.
Like when you maybe used that technique?
It helped with some breathing techniques.
Okay.
Just so I didn't go into hyperventilation or anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it helped with some deep, calm breathing through the process, but I couldn't do any other visualizations just because of the experience.
So distraught.
Yeah. Yeah. But I definitely felt the presence of angels and other celestial beings there to help me through the process, which was, I don't know how I could have done it otherwise, like I kept saying to Andrew, like during the whole process, I can't do this. There's no point. She's dead. Like, why am I going through this if she's dead? It didn't make sense. And I just said that over and over. I can't.
So unfair.
I know.
It's just like, I have to give birth now too, and I don't even get a baby out of it.
Right. And Andrew was just so great at trying to be encouraging, even though he felt the exact same way, But yeah, after they took her away,
wait, I gotta stop you again.
Yep,
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Let's catch up.
So you pushed and she came out. Did the nurse or the doctor cut the umbilical cord? Did Andrew cut the umbilical cord?
Question.
I'm not sure who did that.
Yeah. So Andrew did.
He did.
Yep. They were able to let him do that. He didn't want to, but I was like, you're gonna want to. Like, please just do this. And so he did, and got to hold her for a little while. And before giving the bath, after we'd calmed down a little bit, the main nurse or the doctor, I guess, that was in there was a female. It was not my doctor because she was not on shift anymore.
By that time, yes.
Yeah. But she just said, do you have a name for her? And Andrew and I just looked at each other, and he just said, well, it's either Rosalie or Rosemary. I just said, it's Rosemary. And we're like, yep, it's Rosemary. And she just said, well, what about a middle name? We looked at each other again, and we looked at her, and at the same time, we just said, it's Anne.
Really? Had you guys talked about Anne before?
No, that one had never come up, and we just knew right then.
Really?
It's crazy. I know. Yeah.
That's really special.
I know.
It was meant to be her name.
Yep. Yeah.
So Andrew cut the cord, and they brought her to you.
Yep.
Or did they wrap her up? Did you do skin to skin? Because these are the things that are really kind of tricky, is that sometimes you do have people that tell you and show you all these things that can happen, and you don't even think about them because you are not in the mental space to do that. So
right. We did not do skin to skin. It didn't make sense for me to do that.
Okay.
But they did not wrap her up. They just let me hold her.
Oh, okay.
And that's what I wanted.
Essentially, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. There was one detail that came into my mind, and I am forgetting it again. But that's okay.
Oh, no, that's okay. It'll come up, and when it does, you just say it.
Yep.
Okay, and then so you held her. You had a 2nd-degree tear, so they obviously delivered the placenta, and that probably took a minute, and then had to sew you up as well.
Yep. They were worried about the placenta not being able to come out on its own, just because she was dead and wasn't getting anything from it anymore.
Oh yeah.
And so they were worried that they were going to have to pull on it or something. And I just said, no, just give it a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
And so thankfully they listened to me, and it all came out at once.
Oh, good.
And it all was intact. So that was good. And they ended up taking a piece of the placenta and a piece of the cord to do some testing on.
Okay. Was that something that you had told them before, or were they like, we're going to just do this so we can visualize it and also do some testing to see what happened?
They asked me right after the fact, just to make sure I could relinquish those things. You know?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But because with the hypnobirthing, I also opted to have my placenta encapsulated.
Oh,
because it helps immensely with like postpartum depression
Mm-hmm.
and all of that kind of stuff. And so they're like, are you okay if we take a little piece of this
I see.
to test it?
And that's why they were asking. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why they were asking. And so then, Andrew was able to take the placenta and put it in the little cooler that we brought so that my parents could take it to be encapsulated for me.
Yeah, because so people don't know that I'm assuming they dehydrate the placenta.
Yes.
Grind it up and then encapsulate it so you can take it as a supplement,
Yes.
essentially. So,
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's very, very beneficial, and it helped a lot more than I think I gave it credit for initially.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, obviously, after she was born, I was in a space of not wanting to exist very well.
Yeah.
So I was like, nothing matters, you know.
I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care.
exactly.
That's just the way you feel.
Yeah.
When you, let's go back to how much she weighed. How much did she weigh, and how long was she?
Yeah, she was 8 pounds, 11 ounces.
Okay. Yeah.
And so this was 37
weeks. And so she was a good little size.
Yes. Very full term baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was 21 inches long.
And it's really tall.
Yep. She was a big girl.
She was a big girl.
And the one thing I remember is that she had reddish hair.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, you're blonde.
I'm
so
blonde.
Do you have any red in your family or Andrew's family?
Yeah, my sister is a redhead. And I have a couple aunts who are redheads.
Oh, that's so fun.
But yeah, I was surprised to find that it was more red than I was expecting, you know?
Yeah.
But also
Andrew has darker hair,
he
so
does. He does. And Hannah didn't have hair when she was born.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was totally bald.
Well, and then she's very blonde too. So I'm
Yes.
thinking like blonde. Like
Right.
she would have blonde hair.
Right. So that was shocking, but also kind of sweet to see, you know?
Yeah.
It's like she has hair.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And those are my genes.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
That's great. Anything else about her, the way she looked?
I mean,
That like you're like, that's my nose, or those are Andrew's feet, or something like that.
yeah, I felt like she had my lips.
Mm.
I looked at her lips and I opened her mouth, you know, I looked at her tongue and was like, you're just perfect. Like how could this happen, you know? And like obviously she just felt like a doll. She was lifeless. But the hardest thing too is that like I felt her head after a while, and I thought that I was going to crush her skull because it hadn't sealed together.
Yeah.
Like just pushing her out of the birth canal, they have to have that pliable everything.
Yep. And unfortunately, because there's no like blood flow or anything, because that was something that scared Lee as well.
Yeah.
He was very concerned about that.
Yeah. It was a little bit triggering when I felt that the first time. I'm like, oh my gosh, her head's broken.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, it's just what the process did.
Yeah.
And yeah, after I was moved into recovery, I was still in bed and they brought her to me 4 hours later, not an hour later.
Oh.
So they had her for 4 hours. And I was like, why did you keep my baby so long? And she's like, I'm sorry, it just took a little longer than we thought. And it's like, give her to me. And so they handed her to me. She was swaddled and wearing a nightgown that I did not provide. It was something that they had at the hospital, which was fine. But they handed her to me swaddled and with a hat on her head. And immediately I unswaddled her. I'm like, no, I need to just see every part of her and memorize everything that I can while she's right here. And they brought in a cuddle cot, which is the ice bed.
Yeah. Which is, in my personal opinion, feels so unnatural. But it's so good for your baby who has
Mhm.
passed away.
Yep. It helps preserve baby longer. And it allowed us to have her with us for up to 20 hours after that point.
Okay.
And so I didn't ever want to put her back in that just because I wanted to not let her go ever.
Yeah. Yep.
But it was finally after they brought her back, and I had woken up Andrew because he was able to fall asleep for a little while. And it was at that point that he finally could hold her.
Okay.
And so he got to have his few moments with us both just sobbing. And, it was early hours of the next morning that we had my doctor come in again to check on me and just see how I was doing. And I just, no, I'm not okay. Like, my baby's gone, but physically I guess I'm okay. I had gotten up and started walking at this point. The epidural had worn off. But yeah, like, I was just like, what do we do now? And so
And did they, with your doctor there, and even with the doctor the day before, did they say anything that was that at all that was evident of maybe why she passed away? Was there anything that they
Nothing.
saw?
No. The only thing that my nurse could like speculate on is, well, maybe it was just because you're type 1 diabetic. I was like, no, like, my diabetes was under control.
Yeah.
That's not a reason. I'm sorry.
I
And
mean,
so-
risk factor, but
Right,
yes, but
right.
it's not a cause. Yeah, it's not the cause necessarily. Yeah, it's a tricky.
Right. Yeah. And so, no, nobody said anything. And they're just like, we don't know what happened. Because, like, they looked at baby too. They just said, she's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like,
She
there's
is, you
nothing.
guys. Her pictures are so sweet. She's got such a sweet little face.
Yeah, she does. She looks a lot like both of her brothers too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, I'm
going to have to look at that actually now.
Yeah, I took a picture of Everest at the same age as Rosemary with the same like positioning. They look so similar.
Really?
Their lips are the same. Like, yes. So I think that's a little sweet
Yeah. You're
memory.
like, that's my
and
son.
thing. Yeah.
That's my son who looks just like my daughter.
Right.
And I'm like, Asher, does he look that way? I'm going to have to.
Asher is a little bit different,
Yeah,
but
just
he
as
still
I-
has some similarities.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, just being able to hold her as long as we could. We put her back in the cot as soon as she started to feel a little bit too flimsy, I guess.
Yes.
And the color was really darkening
Yeah.
on her. So we're like, okay, we'll give it a break, and maybe I'll try to sleep for an hour.
Yeah.
Just trying to recoup a little bit. But eventually, we were getting ready to be discharged, and just like, well, okay, what does this process look like? We get to leave empty-handed. We have a little box with her little molds that were brought back to us immediately, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, that's great.
It was, yeah, like, as soon as they brought baby
could
back,
see.
they brought the
Yeah.
box back at the same time. And so I
Yeah.
just opened it. I'm like, okay, I have something tangible to take home.
Yeah.
Like, that was very meaningful. But, right before we were ready to leave, Andrew took me on a walk down the hallway and back, just so that I could get more circulation going and so that they could see that I was doing okay to go home.
Yeah.
And I was almost numb at that point. Like, I couldn't cry anymore right then. I'm just like, I just feel so empty, like, what do we do? And like, right before we walked out of the room, I'm like, I don't want to leave her in there by herself.
Yeah.
Like,
It's the worst.
ah.
It's the worst feeling.
It was awful. Ah.
And did you guys, I think the university has a policy of about 24 hours from the
Yes.
time of birth. And so that was basically the time, right? And
Correct.
And it coincided around the time you were being discharged.
Well, we actually left 17 hours later.
Okay.
So, yeah. like 5 hours before.
Right. And
But-
getting into like discharging in the middle of the night is not great either. So that's why I'm like,
No. So this was morning
oh, okay.
because she was born at 10 at night.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And so it was the next morning. It was probably afternoon by the time we were discharged, but I was prompted to have Andrew give her a blessing before we left the hospital. And so that was a really sweet experience. We put her back in her bed and he gave her a blessing and then covered her up and he wheeled me out of there. And it was really just awful. Like I can't even describe walking or being wheeled out
away
with nothing, with not my baby that I just spent 12 hours delivering.
Yeah.
And they were concerned about me developing post-eclampsia.
Yes.
And so I had to go downstairs to the lab to get my blood drawn there.
Right.
So they could make sure everything was okay. And, they're looking up my chart and everything. And they just said, "Oh, it looks like you just had a baby. Congratulations." And I'm like, "Unfortunately, this is not a congratulations." They're just like, "Oh," like, who knows what to say, right?
Yeah.
They're just like, "Oh, okay." And like they were just quiet the rest of the time. I'm like, just get my blood drawn so I can get the heck out of here.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we got in the car and drove home, just completely brokenhearted. And I think we called both of our parents on the way home. We're just like, we just left our baby in the hospital. And Andrew had contact with Larkin Mortuary. He knew the owner of it. And so we had contacted them right before leaving the hospital.
Okay.
And said, "We'd like you to come pick up our baby."
Okay. And you were planning on a burial versus a cremation.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yes.
Yeah. So you guys got home and then did you plan for a funeral? Was it going to be something that was a lot of people were involved? Because once again, we're in the middle of COVID. And so what did you guys end up planning and doing, or was it just kind of a small graveside with your family?
Yeah. So as soon as we got home, we came to our door, which was heart attacked by the whole neighborhood.
Oh.
That was really
just
sweet.
lots of like card, like
cut out hearts with little messages on them that were just taped to the door. It was really sweet to come home to. But yeah, like walking inside, it was just so empty, and we couldn't even go near her room. It just stayed shut. Just like there's no reason to. We sat down and we talked about a funeral, and we're like, what does that look like with all of these restrictions in place? And
did you guys know? Did you call Larkin to even see if that was possible? Because I just want to point out, everybody, if you've forgotten what COVID was like, I think we've all suppressed it, right? But people were Zoom, like they could only have a certain number of people at a gravesite or inside a building, and so there was a lot of Zoom funeral things, and people were not able to pay last respects. It was rough.
It was really rough. And so by the time of her birth, they had opened their restrictions to 10 people in a room. So it was like
10 people.
10 people.
10 people in the room, everybody.
And I was like, well, how
that's
do we
not
do
even
that
your
with our
family.
Exactly.
That's like not even your family.
So we were
not including the people in your neighborhood who want to support you, I am sure. Like
right.
Knowing this neighborhood, they probably all wanted to be there.
Everybody would have been there. I know they would have.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just like, how do we plan something like this with these restrictions in place? We just didn't know. And so we gave ourselves a few days before trying to do too much, right? We're just like, we just need a little time to process. And so we did, and it was like 2 days later that we finally called Larkin. And we're like, when can we come and see the baby and pick out a casket and all of the things? And I did not realize how expensive it was to bury somebody, like, especially a baby.
Okay, I just also want to
Like-
point out, why would you know that?
Right? Like who knows that?
Why would you know that in your 20s or 30s?
Yeah.
Like you don't expect to be shocked with that kind of information.
No, I just didn't even know it was a thing until I went through it. I didn't know that stillbirth
Yep.
was a thing. Like it was just not a part of my education, I guess.
It's
But
not
why-
for a lot of people.
For a lot of people, I know, and it needs to be talked about more. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we went to Larkin Mortuary a couple days later. I think it was like 6 days after she was born.
Okay.
And I had picked out a really cute nightgown that I wanted her to be buried in because I was like, it'll just be like she's sleeping.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then I had a cute little bow with some matching socks that both of them were sparkly that my sister had given me for my baby shower. And I was like, this is just,
This is it.
it fits.
Yeah.
And so we brought those to the mortuary. We're like, this is what we want her in. And I'm really sad that they didn't let me help dress her. They just did it behind the scenes and then brought her into a room and said, okay, you can come and see her now.
Oh, interesting.
It was very weird. And that was the first time that Hannah got to meet her too. Was at the mortuary.
So Hannah came with you guys and met her.
Yeah. So the awful thing with the hospital is that we could have no visitors.
Yes.
Including,
like Hannah.
Yes. Like, and I don't know necessarily that I would have wanted Hannah to be at the hospital.
Yeah.
Like, I think that would have been
That might have been a little much.
a little much for her at that age. But I really wanted my mom there. I wanted his mom there.
Yeah.
You know, like I wanted just that familial support. And it just was not able to be given because of the restrictions.
Yeah.
Oh, this was what I was going to say before. I am so grateful that they did not enforce mask wearing on me during delivery.
Oh, good. Okay.
They were really lenient. Nobody even said anything.
Okay, good.
Like I
just don't.
was so grateful for
laboring
that.
with a mask. Let's
Oh
talk
my
about that,
gosh.
everybody.
Breathing. Oh, I can't even.
Not awesome. Just saying, not awesome.
Yeah. So I'm really grateful that was not heavily enforced while we were there for us specifically. Obviously, the doctors and nurses
We're very
were there.
on top
were
of it. Yeah.
theirs. Yep. But yeah, I think we were kind of the exception.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the whole funeral preparations and everything, when we finally got to walk in and see Rosemary, she was just laying on like a little Sherpa piece of blanket
Yeah.
on a table, and they just said, you can't pick her up. You
why
can't
not?
pick her up. Her body is too fragile
Oh.
because, she's been here a week already
Yeah,
almost.
yeah.
And so we just don't want anything to happen. Like under the nightgown, her body was wrapped in cellophane.
Yes.
And so they just said, we just don't want anything to happen to her. So you can't pick her up. You can touch her,
Mhm.
but you can't pick her up. And so Hannah never got to hold her.
Oh.
And that was really hard. But we all, actually, I don't think Hannah did, but Andrew definitely took a few minutes by himself with her in there.
Oh, okay.
And we got lots of nice pictures. And then when we were done there, he got to pick her up and put her in the casket that we chose.
Okay.
And it was a really beautiful casket, but expensive.
Yeah.
And we picked the cheapest one too. We're like,
Yeah.
but everything, I can't believe how expensive everything was.
Yeah.
Um,
It's so ridiculous.
it is ridiculous.
It's like
and
added
yeah.
like insult to injury.
Exactly. And it's more expensive to bury anybody on a weekend than a weekday.
Yep.
So what
Yep.
what we ended up doing, because she was born on Cinco de Mayo, which also happened to be Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday
So-
happened that year.
Yep, that's how it went down. And so it was, the following Monday was when we went to the mortuary to see her. And it was that following Friday that we decided to have a funeral for her.
Okay.
And what we'd found out was that the Thursday before the Friday, they had lifted the restrictions to 20 people in a room.
Oh.
And so we're like, well, okay, maybe we can invite family. So we did. We invited all of his family and all of my family, aside from kids, just adults, to come. And it ended up being 22 people. So we called the bishop at the time. We're like, this is the situation. What do you think about this? He's like, just have them come, please.
Yeah.
Like,
I was
okay,
going to say,
thank you.
knowing that bishop,
Yes.
I know exactly. Of course he would say that. Yeah.
Yes. And so that ended up being really good. But like you said, I would have invited the whole neighborhood. I would have invited so many people to be a part of that. And I wanted to do it just at the church here. But
which is just really seriously
it's
like
across
half.
the
It's a half.
street
Yeah,
from me.
across the street from where they live, but it's, half a block from where we live, and so it really is.
So it would have been so convenient. But apparently they were redoing carpets that whole week, and so it was under construction and not operable.
Darn
so
it.
We had to go down to the Apple Chapel.
Okay, so just one that was like 2 minutes down the street, but enough to be a hassle.
Yes.
Honestly.
Yes. It was kind of annoying to have to
finagle
prepare
that
for that
too.
Yes. But yeah, we also were like, we don't want a formal service. We just need it to be intimate because it's COVID, because we only have this many people. We're just going to go in the Relief Society room.
Okay.
We're going to have her open casket so they can come in
and
see her and meet her. And then, Andrew's going to get up and talk. And I can't even remember what was said. I just remember that it was really powerful and really sweet. And luckily it was recorded on audio from the mortuary.
Okay.
And I've got that. But anyway, so he did that. And then Hannah and I, the day before, had written letters to her. And we each took turns getting up and reading those letters.
Oh.
And I made copies of both of them so that she could be buried with them too. Yeah. And so that was really sweet and really meaningful. And then we got balloons, pink balloons, for everybody to write a little message on her, on for her. And then we went outside. We all went in a procession and made a circle. And the song that I sang to her the most while I was pregnant with her was "You Are My Sunshine." And so we all sang "You Are My Sunshine" together in that circle, and then did a balloon release. Yeah. And then put her casket into the hearse, and that was it.
Did you go down to the funeral? The graveside. So, I know where Rosemary is buried. So can you tell me like what you guys decided where to bury her in the local cemetery, which is just really down the street from us?
Yeah, it's not far. So what we had decided, we called the cemetery probably shortly after calling Larkin Mortuary, just to get a few things finalized. And so we called the cemetery and we're like, we just don't even know how to go about this process. Like what are the options? Yeah. What's the price? All of this kind of stuff. And they just said, well, one of the things that a lot of families do is they'll buy plots for husband and wife.
Yeah.
And then bury baby on top of mom, or in mom's spot.
Yep.
And then when mom passes away, baby gets put on top of mom.
Yeah.
Or baby could be buried in babyland, surrounded by a lot of other babies who have either been stillborn or infant death. Yeah. Infant death. I think it's all before the age of 3.
Yeah.
But that is ultimately what we decided to do. Just that felt right to have her surrounded by other little babies. Like, we're not from, so it didn't make sense for us to buy plots here right away where we didn't know where we were going to end up.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're like, no, we'll just have her with the other babies. That just is the sweetest.
Yeah.
So that's what we ended up doing. But because it was so much more expensive to bury on a weekend, we waited until the following Monday and just had me, Andrew, and Hannah go there and meet Brother Larkin.
Okay.
So it was just the 3 of us there at the cemetery.
Yeah.
And that was...
I think that's kind of tender.
It was.
Really sweet.
Yeah. I'm really glad that we decided to do it that way. Because too, like after the funeral service, we didn't seal the casket.
Yeah.
So Andrew was able to carry her with the open casket over next to the grave so that we could all say final goodbyes
Yeah.
while being able to see her still.
Yeah.
So,
Which is nice. That
Yeah.
really is so nice.
yeah, it was really, really special and really tender. We got some really nice pictures of that. And then Andrew got to be the one to seal the casket and to put it down in the hole
Okay.
that was dug.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of those things were just really, really tender things that I'm grateful happened the way they did.
Yeah, because when you have a kind of a formal gravesite, then you don't, a lot of times they don't let you put them down there. And I just think that's nice.
Yeah.
That's a nice, I'm glad that feels like a nice thing to do for your daughter.
Yeah, it was really special.
And a couple of other things that I just want to make sure that we cover.
Mhm.
Did you guys opt for an autopsy?
We did.
Okay. A
Yep.
full autopsy.
Mm-hmm.
And so they performed that, I'm assuming, just shortly before Rosemary went to Larkin.
Yep.
It does take a bit of time for those to be processed. Everybody thinks it should be quick, but
Right.
they have to do the analysis on everything, and it takes a bit to look at everything. So,
Yep.
when you did it come back like 2 or 3 months later, 6 months? It really ranges, I think, depending on.
Sure. It was actually 6 weeks
Okay,
after.
okay,
'Cause it was at my 6-week follow-up with my OB, where like I almost had forgotten to ask her too. But I
Yeah.
was like, hey, did you ever find out? And they're like, oh yeah. So 1 in a million anomaly. What they found, her autopsy itself, like on her body, everything was fine.
Yeah.
But the umbilical cord developed a blood clot. They called it an acute cord accident because it happened so fast. Because she was moving,
Yeah.
everything was fine. Like at the ultrasound 2 days before, and so they said it happened within 24 to 48 hours that she just developed a blood clot that cut off her blood supply and stopped her heart.
Really?
Yeah. They just said, my doctor who's been in there 20 years, she said, I've never heard of this. It's literally a 1 in a million anomaly, especially since I was taking baby aspirin to prevent blood clots.
Yeah.
So it just seriously crazy.
And you don't have any genetic predisposition to any clotting factor issues?
Nothing. I'm anemic, so my blood is always thin.
Yeah.
So yeah, seriously crazy. And they said there was nothing that could have prevented it. Nothing that could have caught it in time.
Because it just was so quick.
It was so quick. Because, oftentimes you go and blame yourself for everything.
Yep.
You're like, well, what if I laid on my back for too long?
Yep.
Or what if I ate the wrong thing?
Yeah.
Thought about
it's the dumbest
all of
stuff
those.
that you think about, and you're just like, yep, that was my fault. I did that.
But no, they just said that it was a freak accident, basically.
Oh.
So, yeah. Crazy.
There's something reassuring about that, but then also super scary about that, I personally think. Because you're like,
completely.
Now I can't do it. I have no control over anything. You just realize you have no control over anything.
Right. And that's how I felt during my whole next pregnancy.
Yeah.
It was scary the entire time. I'm like, well, there's no safe point in pregnancy.
Nope.
This was 37 weeks,
Yep.
full-term baby.
Yep.
So, yeah, like you said, no control. And it was just like, okay, this must have been in God's hands then.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I can take solace in, I guess.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Heather. I have heard your story before. I've heard Rosemary's story before, but in just a shorter time. And so I really enjoyed talking way more and getting more of the details, because there was a few things that I did not realize. So thank you.
Yeah.
So much. I like to ask at the very end if there's anything you want to say about Rosemary that you would like to share with everybody.
She was so, I don't know how to even put this into words. Just while I was pregnant with her, there was just such a sweetness and just such peace. And we, sorry, just always felt like she was our little peacemaker.
Oh, really?
Just always, even like way after, I feel her with me all the time and know that she's always here. And she's just a little peacemaker. And she's actually brought a few of my family members together through my whole process.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my aunt called my mom and just said, I can't believe Heather went through this. Like, why did she have to go through this? And it just brought my mom's sisters closer together. And then I had a cousin who was pregnant with twins, and one of them passed away in utero, but she was never compelled or had desire to hold that baby that passed away. And when she read my story and heard my story and how I craved holding her and just wanted that more, she was like, I wish I would have done that. And she's like, your story actually brought me healing. And so it was kind of cool. And so that's who Rosemary is. Little peacemaker. She's my little guardian angel. And she's just always a part of me.
That was perfect. It's a perfect ending. And thank you. Thank you for sharing Rosemary with us, because it was really special tonight.
Yeah. Thank you for allowing me to share.
It's true that some things change as we get older. But if you're a woman over 40 and you're dealing with insomnia, brain fog, moodiness, and weight gain, you don't have to accept it as just another part of aging. And with MIDI Health, you can get help and stop pushing through it alone. The experts at MIDI understand that all these symptoms can be connected to the hormonal changes that happen around menopause, and MIDI can help you feel more like yourself again. Many healthcare providers aren't trained to treat or even recognize menopause symptoms. MIDI clinicians are menopause experts. They're dedicated to providing safe, effective, FDA-approved solutions for dozens of hormonal symptoms, not just hot flashes. Most importantly, they're covered by insurance. 91% of MIDI patients get relief from symptoms within just 2 months. You deserve to feel great. Book your virtual visit today at joinmidi.com. That's joinmidi.com.